Welcome to the L50, L54 graphing sine and cosine test review. I will be doing the evens today. The odd has been done on a separate video. Before we start, let's begin with writing our function to see what it looks like so you know what to plug in. We are doing sine and cosine. So it's y equal your A, that's your amplitude, times your trig function. Here I'm going to write sine, but it could be cosine, times b, which is your period, x or theta, plus c, parentheses, plus your d. So the b and the d is your vertical shift. So the three that we need is A, B, and D. We are not going to be covering C for this test. A is your amplitude, B is your period, and D is your vertical shift. Knowing these guys, it will help you graph. And also, make sure you know how to graph a cosine and a sine. A sine wave starts in the middle, and it will go up and come back down. If it's a negative, okay, it will go in the opposite direction. Notice in a sine wave, you are going to cross the axis 3 times. Here is your sine wave. For a cosine, okay, cosine usually starts at the maximum, and then it comes down to the minimum and goes back up to the maximum. And it will cross, for one period, it will cross twice. If it's negative, it will start down here at the minimum. So now knowing all those information, you can start graphing the following trig function. Let's look at number 2, okay? Number 2, your A is a 1, and your D is negative 3. This is your vertical shift. That means you're going to go down 3 times. So go ahead and go down 3 times from your x-axis. 1, 2, 3. And draw yourself a really thick line. Now if you look, your A is a 1. So from this axis, I'm going to go up 1. So see how we shifted down 3? From here, your amplitude, you're going to go up 1, which is your radius, and you're going to go down 1. So go ahead and draw your dashes, so you'll have your maximum. Draw the dashes one below, so you'll have your minimum. This will keep you from going outside your graph, okay? The other thing that we need is our B. Your B is 1/3, but you need to find out what that period is. So to find out the period, we are going to use this formula for period change, which is 2 pi over B is equal to 1 period. So let's go ahead and plug in what we know. So to find our period, for one period, we have 2 pi over B. What is your B? 1/3. You need to take the reciprocal of that, and to do that, you're going to take 2 pi instead of dividing. Reciprocal of it is going to be multiplication, and you flip 1/3, so it's 3/1. So a period of 6 pi will graph you all of the sine graph, which looks like this one. Okay, so this number is going to play a factor. Now, draw yourself a small little graph. We're going to use this before we transfer it over here. Label this one 0 and this one 6 pi. If you'll look, halfway between 0 and 6 pi is 3 pi. We are graphing a sine graph. See the sine? So our graph is going to look very much like this one right here. Okay? It is positive. So I'm going to go up, come back down to the axis, go down, and go back up to the axis. Do you see how your sine graph looks like that? Let's use this information to transfer it over to the actual picture. And it says you needed to graph 2 periods. So let's transfer. At 0, I'm going to start at the midline. Okay? Now, I need to label this. So here's at 0. I'm going to make this one 3 pi, this one 6 pi. And if I go in reverse, here is negative 3 pi, here is negative 6 pi. Okay? So at 3 pi, I'm crossing the axis as well. At 6 pi, I'm crossing the axis as well. And I'm just going to follow these guys. Look at these two. See how between the two, I went up. So between these two, I'm going to go have my maximum. Between these two, I'm going to have my minimum. So it goes right here. And you guys see how there's a pattern taking place. So I can repeat that pattern on the left. So if I'm right here, one tick mark over, I'm going to go down. It is a repeated pattern. Next tick mark, midline. Next one, up. Next one, back to the midline. So there's a pattern that you can see. And now you can connect them like that, okay? And you can connect this side as well, trying to make it curved. Don't make it look like a V, because V is absolute value. So please try to put in a little curve if you can. And there you have your sine graph. Number 4. We will refer back to this a lot, so if I were you, I would write this down. Number 4, okay? The things that we need. Here we go. We need an A, we need a B, and we need a D. And we know we are graphing sine. Our A is -6. Your B is your D is in dog, is +1. Our B is 2, okay? So we have that information. Let's go find our period. So here's the period change. 2 pi over B, which is 2 pi over 2, is equal to pi. Make a graph. Start here at 0. Here is pi. Whatever you find here, give you an idea. Draw your little mark. Sine graph, you are going to be crossing this midline 3 times. Notice how this is a -6. If it's a negative pi, we're going to go down, back to the middle, up, back to the middle. It is a reflection on the x-axis, okay? Knowing that, we can graph a few things. Now, what is between 0 and pi? Pi over 2, half of a pi. Now let's go and label a few things and do our graph. Start with the D. Here is your x-axis. We're going to go up 1. Draw your really thick line up 1, okay? Our A is -6, so I'm going to go up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and draw your dashes. That's going to be my maximum. Go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your other dashes. Okay? Now let's use that to graph. We're going to start at 0, so I'm going to label this 0. Let me use a red pen. From here is pi over 2, and right here is pi. So you have a choice to make this a pi or pi over 2. I'm actually going to make this one pi over 2 and this one a pi. You could have done this one pi over 2, and this is pi, 3/2 pi, 2 pi, your choice. But I'm going to go every other one, so I'm going by quarters. Negative pi over 2 and negative pi. Okay, have that information. All right, use the little one to help you graph. At 0, 0, pi over 2, and at pi. There's my 3. Look at this one here. Between 0 and pi over 2, I went to my minimum. Between pi half over pi, I went to my maximum. And do you see how you have a graph? Okay. Repeat on the other side. So, right here. Next tick mark, go up. Next one, come back to the center. Next one, go to the minimum. Next one, back to the center. Get back to your midline. Continue on. And there you have 2 periods of negative sine graph. Let's go to number 6. Okay? Number 6. Here we go. It says, graph the following functions on the given windows. Here we go. This right here means tick mark. It just means that each one of those tick mark is pi over 2. Since that information is given to you, you could go ahead and start labeling all your tick marks. Here is 0, pi over 2, this is pi, 3 pi over 2, and this is 2 pi, okay? Just in case you didn't know, let me kind of help you with this part. This is the same thing as 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2. Now, do you see how they cancel out? 4 pi over 2 is the same thing as 2 pi. 2 pi over 2 is the same thing as a pi, okay? And so in case you forget, You just keep doubling your numerator. Basically, you add 1 every single time. If this had been 3 pi, this would be 6 pi, 9 pi, 12 pi, and so forth. So you're just adding by the same increment. Now let's take a look at this part. This is negative pi over 2, and this is negative pi. And right here is negative 3 pi over 2. Okay? Let's see where we need to graph. So look at your parameters. Here is your parameter right here. You see that? We are going to graph from where? Negative pi over 2. So this is the only part I want you to graph. All the way to pi. So where is pi? Right here. That's as far as we want to go. So let's go find out what we know. Okay? Your A is negative 5 over 2. You do not have a D, so your D is 0. Your B is 2. So let's see our periods. What's it going to look like? 2 pi over 2, your period change, is equal to pi. Make a sketch. 0 pi. Here's your half mark. We are graphing negative cosine. So negative cosine starts down here and ends at the minimum as well. And the points in between is going to be your maximum. So your graph will look something like this. Okay? There's your negative cosine graph. Now let's go ahead and draw our D, vertical shift. There's not one, so we're going to use this one right here. Your amplitude is negative 5 over 2, which is the same thing as 2.5. So I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and a half. Not only are you going to go up 2, you're going to go down 2 and a half. Okay? Now let's transfer over what we know. At 0, we are at our minimum. At pi, we are at our minimum. So the one in between is going to be our maximum. See a pattern. Every tick mark, we've gone up or down. So at negative pi over 2, okay, we're here. So at negative pi over 2, we're going to go up to our maximum. So our graph will look like this. Try to put a little curve in it so it doesn't look so much like a V. And there you have your graph between negative pi over 2 and pi. Okay. Number 8. Continue on. Notice it tells you our tick mark is pi over 2, so I'm going to go ahead and label. Instead of doing every one, I'm going to do every other one. So negative pi, negative 2 pi, negative 3 pi. Okay? And this one are parameters, far left to far right. We're going to go from negative 3 pi, so we want to graph from here to pi and a half, 1/2 pi. So from here to right here. That's as far as I want you guys to graph on this one. You can put a bracket on it, or you could delete it. So we don't care about what's out there. So this is the parameter I want. So let's go and label what we know. Your A is negative 4, D is 0, B is 1. So let's find our period right here for number 8. Okay? Period, change. 2 pi over 1 is equal to 2 pi. Make a sketch of your graph. This is 0, 2 pi, negative 2 pi. You can do this part only if you want, and then just kind of see the pattern, or you can do the whole thing. I'm going to put a half mark and a half mark. Negative 4 sine starts at 0, except negative 4, you're going to go down. See, here's my 3. And you can kind of see the pattern, okay? 1, 2, 3, down, up, down, up. So there you have somewhat of a pattern, and you can just base off of that. Now let's go ahead and graph our vertical shift, not 1. A is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, draw your dashes. Go down, 1, 2, 3, 4, draw your dashes. Okay? And let's transfer our graph. 0, 0, right here. At pi, notice at pi, there's going to be a line. That's just going to use it to help me. Now I'm going to go backward. Right here is negative pi. what's happening at negative pi? There's a point at the midline. At 2 pi, there's a point. Are you seeing how every other one is going to come back to the middle? Okay? Now, from 0 to pi, right here, notice I'm going to go down to my minimum. So there's this part right here, okay? From 0 to negative pi, so 0 to negative pi, I will have a maximum in between. See a pattern taking place. Down, up, middle, down, middle, up. So there's that pattern. And I can just connect them, putting a little wave in it, okay? Just like that. And there is my negative sine wave right there. Tells you positive or negative at 0. Okay? So there you have that graph. Number 10. Here's number 10. Okay. On number 10, same thing. It says your tick mark is pi over 2, half a pi. So let's go ahead and label 0 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Now, if you want to go half a pi, 3 half a pi, 5 half a pi, you go right ahead. All right. I just don't like mine bunched up. Let's take a look at our A. Your A is negative 3.5. We are graphing a cosine, okay? Our D is 0, and our B is 1/4. Let's find our period change. 2 pi over 1/4, which is the same thing as 2 pi times 4, reciprocal. Take the reciprocal, which comes out to be 8 pi. All right. Now, we only want to graph from where to where, okay? We only want to graph from 0 to 4 pi. Where is 0? Right here to 4 pi, which is right here. All right. Now, let's make a sketch of this little graph right here. You're going to be at 0. Here's going to be 8 pi. Here is 4 pi. See how I want that? I'm graphing a negative cosine, so I'm going to start at my minimum, and it's going to end at the minimum at 8 pi. At 4 pi is going to give you the maximum. So your graph should look something like this, okay? So, transfer this over. D is at 0. That's your vertical shift. Amplitude is 3.5, so I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3.5, half. Draw your dashes. I'm also going to go 3 down. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now use that to graph. 0, you are at your minimum. 4 pi, you are at your maximum. What is the distance between 0 and 4 pi? 2 pi. That one has to go here, so that way you can have this shape right here. Okay. Now connect them and draw your shape. See how it's got stretch? There you go. Because here's the part you are graphing. Right here, from 0 to 4 pi. So there's your graph. All right. Next part, we are going to write a function with the given conditions. Please go back and review this part. You need A, you need B, you need your D, and you need your trig function in order to write the equation. And I like you guys to write in this order. The D can be moved up front, but I like to keep it in the back. Okay? Your choice. All right. Let's take a look. You are graphing cosine. Your amp is 3.8. Okay? Vertical shift is 9. So D is 9. It's being reflected over the x-axis, so that makes that a negative 3.8. And the period is 17 pi. So we got to go find our our B. To find our B, you're going to take 2 pi over B. Remember that formula? Is equal to 1 period, which is 17 pi. Solve for B. Notice you have a fraction equals a fraction. You can always cross multiply when you have a fraction equal a fraction. It has to be an equal sign, okay? Cross multiply. 17 pi times b is equal to 2 pi. Divide both sides by 17 pi. Okay, pi cancels. So b is equal to 2 over 17. Now you have everything for you to write your equation. So what is your equation going to look like? Y equal negative a, 3.8, cosine b, 2 over 17 theta plus 9. And you have your format. Okay? Number 14. Let's see what we've got. Okay? We're graphing sine. Amp is 47.2. That's your A. The vertical shift of 131. Okay? And our B, we got to go find. The period's 8 over 3. So 2 pi over B is equal to 8 over 3. Cross multiply. B times 8 is 8B. 2 pi times 3 is 6 pi. Solve for B. B is equal to 3 pi over 4. So 3 pi over 4. Okay? Have all that information. Now you can write your equation. Y equal your A, 47.2, sine of 3 pi over 4 theta plus 131. There you have your solution. Okay? Number 16, we are now going to write from a graph. So let's look at 16. My best advice to you is keep doing what you are doing, okay? Look at our maximum. What do we always draw at the maximum? We always drew our dashes. At the minimum, what do we always do? We draw our dashes. And then to find our midline, we always kind of go in between. It's always halfway. Now, I'm going to eyeball this one, but in case you can't, this is what you can do. Your A is always the difference in the two. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. I am trying to find the midline, right there. What do you do when you try to find half of something? You divide by 2, so A is equal to 2. That is something you can do. You can always count, okay? Your D is wherever you are crossing the y-axis. Where are we crossing the y-axis? -7. That means I'm shifting it down 7. The other thing that you need is your B and your trig function. Look at this problem. Where are we starting our graph at 0? We are starting in the middle and we are going down, okay? That tells you right there this is going to be a negative sine function. Right off the bat, it's going to be a negative sign. It's not going to be a cosine, it's going to be a negative sign. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a -2. To find our B, you're going to take 2 pi over B is equal to 1 period. Well, now let's take a look, okay? This is a sine graph. This one should continue on, but are you noticing how we don't know what it is over here to complete a sine graph? Because a negative sine graph should look like this. See that? It should look like this. But you see how we only see half of it? What is this marking here at the half? 5 pi over 2. So what you can do is you can take 5 pi over 2. I'm only seeing part of it. To get the other one, I'm going to double it. And this comes out to be 10 pi over 2, which is 5 pi. That is going to give you a period. So 2 pi over b is equal to 5 pi over 1. Cross multiply. 2 pi times b is equal to 2 pi. B is equal to 2 over 5. Okay? You have everything you need. Now you can write your equation. Y equal negative a times your sine. B is 2/5 theta minus 7. So you shift it down 7, 2 units up, 2 units down, which is your radius, and 2/5 of a period, you're going to see part of it. Okay? Number 18. Same thing. Draw your dashes first. maximum, minimum, okay? I'm just going to eyeball this one. See how you can kind of see? And there is going to be my D. All right, so let's see what we know. A is, notice this is a half, so A is 1. D is also at 1. Notice how we are starting at the midline, going up. So that tells you it is going to be a sine graph and not a cosine, okay? Because you're starting in the middle, going up, positive. Now let's take a look. Do you see how there's a whole period right here from here to here? At pi over 3. And because you can see that, pi over 3, right there, okay, you can go ahead and write you don't have to double it because you see the whole pi, the whole period. So 2 pi over b is equal to pi over 3. That's a b. Cross multiply, b times pi is equal to 6 pi. Divide by pi, b is equal to 6, okay? You got your A, your D, your B, and you know it's a sine. So now you can write your equation. Y equal sine of 6 theta, or 6x, plus 1, because you only moved up 1. And there's your solution for number 18. Okay. Number 20. Write the equation as well. Start off, draw your dashes. Okay, maximum and minimum. Now this one I'm going to make sure I have it correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So A is equal to 6 divided by 2, which gives you 3. Okay, so I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. Do you see how I find my dark line? My vertical shift? Okay, so my D is also at 3. I'm starting at the midline and I'm going down. So this here is going to be a negative sine graph. Now if you want to write, there's negative sine graph. Now I got to go find my B. Now let's take a look. Does this one show you all of the sine graph? See it right there? So you don't have to double it since it shows you all the sine graph. It shows it at 5 pi. So let's go find B. 2 pi over b is equal to 1 period, and that period is 5 pi over 1. Cross multiply. 5 pi times b is equal to 2 pi. B is equal to 2 over 5. Okay? You have all those information. Now you can write your equation. I'm going to write it up here. Y equal A. It's a 3, but it's a negative 3. Sine times your b, 2 over 5 theta, plus your d, plus 3. Okay? And there you have your equation. This question is about temperature, but keep in mind you might want to go back and look at your Ferris wheel and know how to do the Ferris wheel. Okay? That's lesson 54 of your assignment. All right. Now, for this part right here, just make sure that you have your unit circle so you can work these problems. And if you don't have your unit circle, it's going to be a little bit harder. So here is my unit circle. Okay, so I'm going to use this quite a bit. Know that the first point on the coordinate, the first variable is always your cosine, and the other one is your sine. The other things that you need to know is this. Tangent theta is y over x, which is the same thing as sine theta over cosine theta. Make sure you are aware of those things, and this will make it very easy for you. Your tests will have this on there that you have to know. So make sure you know your unit circle, okay? All right, let's look at number 22. On number 22, you have cosine of negative pi over 4. Negative pi over 4 is right here. And if you will see how this is a negative, if it's negative, it's going to reflect it. So I'm going to be looking at this one right down here, okay? So cosine of pi over 4, cosine is your first one. This one here of negative pi over 4 is the same thing as square root of 2 over 2. You can't simplify that anymore, so that's as low as it's going to go, and that's it. Okay? Cotangent. Cotangent is the same thing as 1 over tangent. Let's take a look. 11 pi over 6, okay? Where is 11 pi over 6? 11 pi over 6 is right here. Since it's a negative, I'm going to reflect it, so I'm going to look at this one over here, which is pi over 6. Cotangent is 1 over tangent, so this is 1 over tangent. What is tangent? Tangent is y over x. So 1 over your sine, which is 1/2, divided by square roots of 3 over 2, okay? Another way you can look at it, instead of doing all that work, is you notice how you always take the reciprocal of this guy? This here, instead of doing it this way, this is the same thing as x over y, okay? So you can just look off of this and go square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Now, notice you have a fraction right here, and since you have a fraction, you have to take the reciprocal. So, this problem will look like this. Okay, so let me continue. Square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, right? So, rewrite it as square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. You see how you take the reciprocal? 2 cancels, so your final answer is square roots of 3. Okay? You can do it the long way, but it's easier if you just take the reciprocal of this, because anything times 1 is itself, and then you just take the reciprocal. Number 26. Number 26, you have 1 over cosecant, which is the same thing as 1 over sine of pi over 3. Where's pi over 3? Pi over 3 is right here. So it's 1 over sine. Sine is square root of 3 over 2. Remember what I said? Anything times itself is always itself. So all you have to do is take the reciprocal of that. So it'll be 2 square roots of 3. You need to rationalize it. Times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. So your answer is 2 square roots of 3 over 3. Number 28. Cosine of negative 2 pi over 3. 2 pi over 3 is up here. Since it's a negative, we're going to look at this one down here, and here's your reflection. Cosine is always your x value, so this here is just negative 1 over 2. Number 30, secant of 1/4, which is 1 over cosine. Okay, so 1 over your cosine. So let's take a look at 1/4. Negative 1/4. Here's 1/4. Reflected across the x-axis, so I'm looking at 7 pi over 4. 1 over cosine. Cosine is square roots of 2 over 2. Okay. Take the reciprocal of that, so it would be 2 over square roots of 2. Rationalize it, so that comes out to be 2 square roots of 2 over 2. 2 cancels out, so your solution is just square roots of 2. Number 32, tangent of negative 150. Remember, tangent is y over x, okay? So tangent of negative 150, where is negative 150? Right over here. This is 150. Since it's a negative, I'm going to reflect it on the x-axis, and so we're talking about 210 degrees. Tangent is y over x. So 1/2 divided by negative 1/2 divided by negative square roots of 3 over 2. Okay? A negative and a negative becomes a positive. Take your reciprocal, so you have 1/2 times 2 square roots of 3. The 2 cancels out, so you have 1 square roots of 3. Rationalize it. Okay? And so your final answer is square roots of 3 over 3 for number 32. Number 34, cosecant is the same as 1 over sine, okay? So 1 over cosecant of 330. Here is 330 right here. So it's 1 over sine. What is sine? Negative 1 over 2. Take the reciprocal. 1 times negative 2 over 1, so it comes out to be negative 2. Okay? Number 36, you are to fill out your unit circle. There is a video for you already, if you will go look, that shows you how to fill out your unit circle. But here is my unit circle. If you want a brief picture of it, okay, just make sure that you know it because it is part of your test. Good luck. Hope you guys do well. Please watch this video again if you need to. Have a great day.